ओम ज्ञानतिमिरन्दस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपकदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरु श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगण रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपदान् सहगण ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च। नमो विष्णुपदाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिनिति नामिने। नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। हे कृष्णा करुणा सिन्धो दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिकान्त राधाकान्त नमोस्तुते। तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। Hare Krishna. So it gives me great pleasure to be with all of you this evening to speak on this topic on Samskaras for Grihasthas to this NS forum today. Before I begin, I just want to know how many of you attending here are already married? Okay. And how many are not yet married or the unmarried? Okay. So it's kind of 50-50. Great. Okay. So let's begin. Yeah, so these are the 4 themes I'm going to take today. What is samskaras, their definition, importance, Garbhadan samskar, which will be a focus point. The third will be list of other samskaras, and finally Vivaha samskara as well, because some of you are not yet married. So the importance of Vivaha samskara and how to look at it. So these are the 4 things we are going to speak. Right. Yeah. So the first thing, samskaras, the definition, importance, etc. So I've just taken this verse from Bhagavad Gita 16.3. Teda kshama dhritishaucha madroha nati manita bhavanti sampadam devi abhijatasya bharata. So basically this is the verse, if you see Bhagavad Gita as it is, there are 3 verses from 16.1 to 16.3 which have a common translation and purport. It starts with Abhayam Sattva Samshuddhe Jnana Yoga Vyavastiti. It starts like that. But I've just taken the 3rd verse. So in that, what happens is Krishna lists several qualities. And then finally he says, these qualities belong to godly men endowed with divine nature. Okay. Now what happens in the English, you may not capture it. But in the Sanskrit and also in the purport of Prabhupada, you will see that Abhijatasya Bharata. Abhijatasya Bharata means those who are born with that qualities. Are you getting it? Those Abhijatasya. Jiska janam hua hai, ye gunon ke saath. That's what Krishna is saying. Look at the purport of Prabhupada. It will become very clear. So Prabhupada says the word Abhijat, this is part of the purport. The word Abhijatasya in reference to one born of transcendental qualities or godly tendencies is very significant, Prabhupada says. To beget a child in a godly atmosphere is known in the Vedic scriptures as Garbhadan Samskar. If the parents want a child in godly qualities, they should follow the 10 principles recommended for social life of the human being. What are these 10 principles? They are actually the 10 important samskaras. We will come to all that. That's what Prabhupada is saying here. In Bhagavad Gita, we have studied also before that sex life of begetting a good child is Krishna himself. This is from 7th chapter, 10th verse. Dharma viruddho bhuteshu kamosmi bharatarshava. Sex life is not condemned, provided the process is used in Krishna consciousness. Those who are in Krishna consciousness at least should not beget children like cats and dogs, but should beget them so that they may become Krishna conscious after birth. Okay, I've just put part of the purport because it's a 3-page purport. You can read that, 16.1 to 3. So please focus on this word Abhijatasya. This is where we are beginning our definition of samskara. Okay, this is the point where we are actually going to begin this from. Yeah. So the Gita, right, it talks about this concept in several places. But if you see in the first chapter of the Bhagavad Gita as well as in the 13th chapter, there are two words which we can take. In fact, how does the Gita begin? Dharma kshetre kurukshetre. Dharma kshetra. Two words are there. Okay. And in the 13th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna talks about kshetra, kshetrajna in great detail. What is this kshetra? Kshetra literally in Sanskrit means field. Okay, field. Field ko kshetra kaha gaya hai. And dharma kshetra literally means a field that is, very potent, that is dharmic, that has all righteousness in it, and so on. Are you getting it? That is exactly what samskaras are about. The purpose of samskaras is to create a dharma kshetra. Okay. Why do you need a dharma kshetra? Because this dharma kshetra is a suitable vessel. It's like a pot. Okay. And we can call Krishna consciousness to be the kheer inside the pot. So to hold even the most valuable thing, you need a container, right? So the container is basically created, is the kshetra. That is the container. And this container which is there is created due to the right kind of samskaras. The samskaras is creating the container. And in that, your Krishna consciousness is like content in there. Now please try to understand this. Even if, imagine, right now after this program, let's say you have some sweet rice. And let us say there is no container. Sometimes it happens like that. The prasadam has arrived, but plates are not there. And you know what happens? It gets delayed. Everybody is waiting. Because even the fantastic prasad is available, but because the container is not there, we can't be served. They're all waiting. Where we will get the container? Please get the plates, bowls. And even sometimes if the container is there, but it is not of good quality, it cannot hold. I wonder if you have seen sometimes, in prasadam serving, sometimes there is a container which is a very thin kind of pattal. And then it's, you're dancing with all the content inside. Everything is getting mixed up. The sweet rice is coming onto the dal, and everything is right. It's all getting mixed up, and you're not very happy with it. Or worse, sometimes the container, the pattal which is there, has some holes in it, so it keeps seeping. And I'm sure you all have this experience of taking prasad in a pattal or sweet rice in a cup, where it's a very low quality stuff, so it just keeps seeping through, and you're not at all very happy. You're completely. I mean, the whole the pleasure, that experience of honoring that fantastic prasad is completely gone because the container is completely messed up. Okay, so please try to understand, samskaras, what do? They are actually creating that container, a very good container, okay, where you could have any content, but of course, as devotees, we want to have Krishna conscious content. So let's try to understand the cycle of creation of samskaras. Okay, how are these samskaras basically created? So please try to understand. So there are two other terms that you need to be aware of. One is called vasana and one is called vritti. Vasanas are the general tendencies in the mind. That's called vasana. We all have vasanas, right? We have general tendencies in our subtle self. Vritti is nothing but a very specific sensual experience. That means, let us say you saw some picture, some painting you saw, and that is a vritti. It kind of registers it's an imprint. Vritti can be translated in English as imprint. And when that vritti is again and again experienced, it becomes a very deep impression, which is called as a samskara. You understood? So please try to understand this. Vasanas are general thoughts or tendencies. Vrittis are a single sensual experience which enters your system. And that repeated entering of that vritti creates a deep impression. Now it's no longer an imprint. So please note the word. Vritti is just an imprint, just one photo. But the same thing you keep, bombarding on yourself, then it becomes a very deep impression, which is called as a samskara, which is created in your subtle self. And what does samskaras do? Samskaras create a set of vasanas. Are you getting it? So it's a cycle. That's what I've shown on that side. Are you able to appreciate this point? So what do the samskaras do? So because you have deep impressions in your mind of particular type of experience, particular type of thought process, again, some certain vasanas are generated. That again causes you to run behind certain imprints. That creates further samskaras. So this is a cycle that goes on and on. You get it? This is actually samskara. It's a deep impression. So please try to understand. Samskara is this term samskara which is there, right? This is much more sophisticated in our Vedic psychology, in our Grihastha Ashram, the content, compared to what we may call as value education or a pep talk. Okay, see this value education which is there now, it is just like a lecture, like a pep talk, like a motivational speech. Okay, but samskara is something where you have to get that impression on yourself. Are you understanding the difference? In one thing, you are just told, aisa karna hai bhai. You are just preached to by giving a motivational seminar. That is value education. But samskara is something very deep. It's something that you have absorbed in because of certain experiences. Okay. That's actually samskara. Right? That's a cycle. So please try to understand this. Yeah. So it's a container and content. So please try to understand. You need a good container. If the container is like that steel bucket with a lot of holes, etc., so you need not worry about taking photo. My presentation is there with him. So whoever is attending, you will get it. And you guys just focus on whatever is there. There is nothing rocket science you are presenting, but still, if somebody wants, they can take it from the coordinator. Anyway, let's come back to the point. So you can see the slide over here. There is a pot on one side, and on the other side, you see a bucket with holes. Because that bucket has so many holes, anything you put in goes away. You understand this? So if you compare, if you compare West and India, I'll give you some simple and a very practical example to understand this. If you see our ISKCON society only, okay, we are preaching all over the world. But do you know, practically speaking, it is in India only, or with Indians, we have maximum retention of devotees. You understand what is retention? We retain people. In the West, if you carefully go and observe, retention is very less in the West. I mean, I remember speaking to many famous devotees or preachers in the West. They say that if 5 people take to chanting 16 rounds in the West in 1 year, then 4 may give up and only 1 will. No, why does that happen? And this is not happening now. It has always been happening. Is it because they are not attending enough classes and all that? If you actually carefully see, that's not the real reason. The reason is, in the Western world itself, the samskaras are unfortunately very poor. You understood? The deep impressions are very poor. So because of that, the subtle self of a person is unable to hold on to the content of Krishna consciousness. It's a sad thing. You understood the point? I remember once Sonal Ranand Maharaj was making this point to some devotees that if you see, like we have counselor system and all in India, no? Authority and all that. So he was once telling to a set of managers and leaders, in the West, he said it is very difficult to implement these systems. Why? He said, because people have bad experience of authority. Samskara is bad. You understood? Samskara is bad. So then, imagine if you had a father who was brutal at home, always beating you, the mother, everything, alcoholic. Then you see someone who's like an authority figure, that's the samskara you have. You understand? Go back to our definition of samskara. A deep impression in your mind. All authorities are like this. One more social point I'll just tell you, you may have to think about it a little bit, but you'll understand. It seems in the West, or in many places in the West rather, people are having difficulty in taking a man as an authority. Okay? Because, I mean, in different Western communities, like if you see among the Afro-Americans, 85% are single mother. That means the child grows up only with mother. 85%. Not 8.5%, 85%. Okay, among the whites, it will be 60%. Like so, a large number of people grow up without a father only. In school also, they have madam only to teach. I mean, I'm not against that concept, but what I'm saying is they have never seen a male authority. So, they actually find it difficult, when there is a male guru. They find it difficult because samskara. What? Samskara, it's connected. Are you able to observe this point? This is what samskara does to you. That deep impression which is there, it creates these blocks in your own system. Okay, it forms patterns of thought process within you, and so better the samskaras, the more easy Krishna consciousness becomes, more smooth it becomes, because there are no bottlenecks. Your impressions are good within yourself, right? So this is the point. Okay. Yeah, so I just had this example here of Arjuna and Karna. If you carefully see, I'll talk about this example later. One big difference between Arjuna and Karna is Arjuna had very good samskaras, Karna did not. Why? We will see that. And that made an effect on their whole contribution. See, in talent-wise, both were actually, if you see, they had good talent. But it was samskara that made a big difference. And why that samskara were different, I'll come to that. So please try to understand. Okay, so the very famous verse, Dharma eva hatohanti dharmo rakshati rakshitaha. That means you cannot destroy dharma. You protect dharma, dharma will protect you. And protecting dharma here is samskara dharma. If you actually, right, if you take care of it nicely, then it's good for you. Okay, now going ahead. So please remember, Samskriti, I'm sorry, this is spelling mistake. Samskar and dharma, these are all connected. So if you see carefully, samskar is a very big thing. It's like what you put inside your consciousness. Okay, is our consciousness like a dustbin or like a flower pot? That's what decides samskar. Okay, so respecting parents, family events like these Raksha Bandhan, etc. These also cause samskaras. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is we are going to go into the first one. Okay, Garbhadan samskar. Okay. Now, let me tell you one thing. This Garbhadan samskar is considered a very important samskara because why it is considered like that? Go back to the verse that we read from Bhagavad Gita. Abhijatasya Bharata. Krishna, what is he saying? These are qualities of those who are born with godly nature. So Garbhadan samskar is very important because, see, I've heard different speakers with different statistics and numbers. But they say what an individual is, minimum 50%, or some people say 90% is decided at birth only, based on Garbhadan. Can you imagine the impact? Whole life you are running behind training a person. School, college, this, that, giving him lecture, telling him you should behave like this, that, correct? Motivating him. But a large percentage, minimum 50 it is, if not more, is decided at birth only. Why? Because that's how it is. That's what Garbhadan Sanskar is about. That's the power. Because you're inviting a soul with a particular type of karma and background. He's coming with a baggage of all his past lives. So how much are we going to train in one life, depending on who the person is with the baggage that he has come with? Are you getting the point? That's why Garbhadan Samskar is considered one of the most important samskars. Prabhupada also talks about that in that purport that we read. And in so many purports, Prabhupada talks about Garbhadan Samskar. Okay, so the first thing we need to understand, is that in married life, we have to understand the importance of having children. That's the first thing. Okay. I remember this is a very personal experience I had. There was one family I knew. They got married, but they didn't want children. So they asked me that, can you go and tell Guru Maharaj that, give us the blessing for not having children. So I thought this looks a bit strange, but anyway, I will. Since they requested, so I spoke to Maharaj saying that there is this couple, they're saying that they don't want children and they want your blessing for it. So I was curious to know how he would respond. He said, my blessing is only if somebody wants children. Somebody doesn't want children, it's their risk, it's their decision. I can't give such a blessing because blessing means order. How can I give such an instruction or such a thing that you should not have children? No, he said, because as far as I am concerned, married life means children. Okay. So this is to be understood, that married life means to have children. Okay. Now, why it is like that? See, there are so many things I could say about this. Okay, but the first thing, I've taken something from the Mahabharata. There is a conversation between Yaksha and Yudhishthir Maharaj called Yaksha Prashna. Where Yaksha is asking questions and Yudhishthira is answering. So in one question he is asking, I'm not reading the whole thing, only the fourth part, Kim Svit Prasavatam Varam. Kim Svit Prasavatam Varam means, see, the beauty is Akshay is asking 120 questions. All questions are, and Yudhishthir's answers are all in one word only, generally, one line answers, and they are precise. Okay, it's a beautiful topic. Some other time we could discuss. But he's asking Kimsvit Prasatambaram. That means the translation is what, when comes forth, gives maximum happiness to a human being. Okay, and Yudhishthir Maharaj says Putra Prasavatamvaraha. This is the birth of a child. Okay, so please try to understand this. All commentators have said the word Putri is included in Putra. So it is just gender neutral. You need to use one term, so they're using it like that. So there's a lot of commentary about that as well. Putra Prasavatamvara. That means the birth of a child actually gives maximum pleasure to any human being in this world. Yudhishthir is answer. It's a fact, actually. It's a fact. I remember this is a very personal, touching story. There was actually, many times parents will tell you that only when you become a parent you will understand. I'm sure all of you. How many of you have heard this statement from your parents? Everybody says. And let me tell you, it is true actually. It's 100% true. My parents have told this 100 times. Only when I had my children, I understood what that means. Okay, because it's something amazing actually, right? So there was this one person who was very angry with his father for some reason. Okay, and he was like quarreling and this and that. He was upset. True story, yeah. So in his office, what happened is there was another gentleman who had a child. So he came around giving pedas, which is like Indian culture in the office. And he was so happy while giving pedas. मुझे बेटा हो गया sir, ले लो करके. When this man looked at that, he realized maybe my father also must have been so happy when I was gone. Okay, so I need to be at least grateful for him because he loved me so much. That's a reality of life. So his perspective changed just by looking at this stranger who came up with pedas, the birth of his son. Okay. So this is first thing to understand, that children are very, very core part of family life. Now there are so many quotes in our Shastras and great people about importance of having good children. I'm just reading some of them, like Garuda Puran. Just as an entire forest becomes fragrant by the presence of a single flowering tree, so bright sun glorifies an entire family line. Please remember, it is not just like that the Bhagavatam says. If a great devotee is in some family, the generations get liberated. They have all contributed to that in some way. It is not just like that it is said. Are you getting it? They have that thing. So that is why they are getting the benefit also. As a single withered tree, if set ablaze, burns the entire forest, so a bad sun can destroy the entire family. This is Chanakya. Just as night is brightened by the moon, so the sun, who is knowledgeable devotee of the Lord, illuminates the entire family. Of what use are many sons who cause grief and vexation? A single son adorned with the qualities of pure devotee, the support and shelter of his entire family. A single son endowed with good qualities is far better than 100 devoid of them. Chandra, though one, dispels the darkness which the stars, though numerous, cannot. Eko Chandra Stamohati Nasitara Sahasra. Very famous verse of Chanakya. The point is, the Shastras and our saints have always placed a lot of emphasis on this, having good children in your family. Okay. Now, how is this possible? This is possible by something called Garbhadan Samskar. Now, what is Garbhadan Samskar? So please try to understand. Samskaras in general have two parts to it. I have put some mathematical thing on the left and right. One is called continuous function, one is discrete data, if you look at it. Continuous matlab, it is going on and on for a long time. And discrete means at one point something is done. That's called discrete. Okay. So please try to understand Garbhadan Samskar. Garbha means the womb. Garbhadan Samskar itself is divided into three parts. Prior to conception, 1 year prior to conception, from that time Garbhadan Samskar starts. I'll give examples from Shastra to validate my point. Then there is conception, the act of conception. And then there is pregnancy, the 9 months when the child is in the womb. This is Garbhadan Samskar. That means it takes care of all these things. I'll give examples. Prior to conception. Prior to conception, means what? In Shastra, you will see unlimited examples of parents deciding to have a particular type of child and doing tapasya in that direction. I'll give an example. Just like if you read the Adi Parva of the Mahabharata, chapter 33, there's a dialogue between Kunti and Pandu. Pandu initially is disappointed that he cannot have children because of the curse. Kunti tells him that I have this blessing from Durvas that I can call any devata and obtain child. Pandu is very happy. We generally think that they just called one Devata and got one child. It's not like that. If you read the Mahabharata, you will see Pandu and Kunti prepare themselves. Pandu says, we want a child who is very powerful. I want a child who is like Indra. 1 year they do tapasya for one child. It is mentioned in the Mahabharata. See, you may feel that, Are mantra tha, Sita bolana tha na. Are, you want a son like Arjuna, your body has to be capable to handle that. Simply like that, Arjuna will not come in your family, even for Kunti and Pandu. It is said 1 year they did tapasya, meditating on the qualities of the child they want. And then Pandu would tell Kunti, now call Indra, ask him for what we have did tapasya for. And Pandu also did. Someone will think, nobody in this whole equation. No, he's Pandu. The sons of Pandu are called Pandavas, not just like that. Pandu had his own contribution in that process. You understood? So this is prior to conception. Your entire consciousness, your thought process builds up with this expectation in your mind. So please understand, this is based on a very deep concept in our scripture. That what is in your mind becomes physical. Are you getting it? That means the subtle becomes the gross. This is our philosophy actually. The subtle becomes the gross. In the West, they have done some perverted experiments also. For example, they have tried to tell some pregnant ladies to meditate on or to think about a child with a deformed hand and all that. And the child was actually born like that. So, these are dangerous things. No need to do that. Think positive. Okay. So, this is Kunti Pandu. And like this, you will see everywhere in our scripture. I'll take some more examples. Aditi Payovrata. Read Bhagavatam chapter 8, text number 16. Canto 8, chapter 16. So what happens, briefly I'll tell you, Bali Maharaj has conquered the heavenly planets. Okay? Bali Maharaj has conquered heavenly planets. So Aditi's sons, Indra, all these people, they are all Berosgar. They have lost their home. So mother is unhappy, obviously. Who's the mother? Aditi. She goes to Kashyapa saying, what, my sons are all loitering like this. I'm feeling so bad about it. Very, very natural for any mother to feel. Kashyapa teaches her a method of solving this problem. And what is the method? Payovrata. There is a worship called Payovrata. For 12 days or a long period of time. It is mentioned in the Bhagavatam, if you read the entire chapter. Aditi does that tapasya. And at the end of that tapasya, who comes in her womb? Vamana Devi. You understood? It's not just like that Vamana comes. It is meditated. I want a child who is going to help me get my sons there. Please. You understood? This is what I'm talking. Prior to conception, you meditate on what you wanted. Vasudev Devaki. Do you know the Shastra says that a child, there is this calculation also. In the Bhagavatam it comes. 10th canto, chapter 2, text number 16. In the Bhagavatam it says, Krishna entered the mind of Vasudeva. And then he entered the mind of Devaki and then the womb of Devaki. There is one Acharya who gives commentary to this saying, it's not only for Vasudeva and Devaki, it's for everybody, it happens like that. As in, it is the man's consciousness in his mind which they quantify to be for 2 months. That means for 2 months, the man, what kind of consciousness and thought process he carries in his mind, that he transfers to his wife. And with the combined consciousness of his wife as well, it becomes a child in the womb. So the Shastra says even the man bears the child. As in, it's not just that the woman bears, of course, physically the gross is born by the woman for 10 lunar months, 40 weeks is the gestation period. But it is said that 2 months the man also holds it. Correct? That's 12 months. That's how it is calculated. You will see that in Vasudeva Devaki. Sometimes we read this and we think it's only for him. No, it's not like for everybody. It's like. But in his case, Krishna appeared in this one. That's what the Bhagavatam says. Similarly, everywhere, Nabhi wanted Rishabhadev as the son. This is a beautiful story. Satyavati Richika. This Satyavati is not the Mahabharata Satyavati. This is the daughter of a king. So the story is that there was a king, Gadi, whose daughter was married to Richika. He's a sage. So this Richika is a rishi, correct? His wife is a Chatrani. So what Richika does is, he does a whole yajna and creates 2 vessels. So what happens? Satyavati's mother, she also wants a child, and Satyavati also wants. That means the daughter also wants, and his mother-in-law also wants. You understood? So Richika is a sage. So what he does all this tapasya, and he creates 2 pots of kheer. And he tells his wife, you drink this, and he tells the mother-in-law, you drink this. And what he had actually done was, he had infused the mantras and the potency into 1 pot of kheer for Brahmana child and another for a Kshatriya child. You understood? That is the power. That is the prior to conception work which he had done. And please remember, when we read this, sometimes we see simply by drinking kheer they get. It's not like that. Most of the Shastra, in almost all stories, it is explained that after drinking the kheer, they would have union also. This was preparing their consciousness. This is there everywhere. Are you understanding? So our scriptures are not, sometimes some people say, kya kheer pee ke pregnant ho gaya, aise thodi hota hai. Arey baba, aisa nahi hai. That kheer is preparing their consciousness. They have the usual biological process that is never denied. Okay, in some cases it is not there. Like Krishna is born, that is not there. That's a different thing. But when normal people are born, it is like that only. How we are all born, like that only everyone is born. Are you understanding? But what happens is Satyavati's mother, na, उसको लगता है कि maybe my son-in-law must have given better quality kheer to my daughter, because wife है ना उसका. So she convinces her to exchange it. And when they drink it, later he comes to know, Richika, that you people exchanged it. So he tells, why did you do that? Now what will happen is the king will get a son who is a Brahmana type, and you are going to get a fierce Kshatriya. So both say, oh, no, we don't want like that. Please. So then Richika says, ठीक है, I can postpone it for 1 generation. And that's what he does. So Richika and Satyavati's son is Jamadagni, who is a Brahmana. Jamadagni's son is Parashurama, fierce Kshatriya. That's the story. This is all prior to conception. You understand? Garbhadhan Samskar prior to conception. Then there is Garbhadhan Samskar at conception. Now in that there are several combinations. First combination is, see, now the lady is the same, Kunti. You understand? But there she has good children, here she gets Karna. Why? Because at conception when Suryadev comes, Kunti says, I don't want a child, I don't want a child, I don't want a child. मुझे बच्चा नहीं चाहिए. So ऐसा बच्चा आता है जिसको कोई नहीं चाहिए. Karna. You understood? See, that's Garbhadhan Samskar. You didn't want a child. I don't want a child. So you have an unwanted child, basically. Unwanted fellow in society. Karna. But he was never wanted by anybody except Duryodhana. And Duryodhana also didn't really want him. He only exploited him. That's all. He didn't want him per se. Are you getting the impact of this? See, the woman is the same. It's not that please try to understand this, right? Woman is the same. And these devatas are also not, I mean, Suryadev is as great as Indra or Vayu or anybody. I mean, that combination was not wrong. But what was wrong? She didn't want the child. Unwanted child. That's the point. The story of Ambika Ambalika, Dhritarashtra and Pandu. They didn't want. Ambika closed her eyes. Mujhe dekhna bhi nahi isko. When Vyasadev came, right, to impregnate Ambika, I don't want to see this man. I don't want to see. Okay, you had a child who cannot see. Ambalika, she became pale with fear, looking at Vyasa. Pandu is born with a pale, complexion, some skin disorder he had, because the lady became pale at the time of conception. These are all examples of at conception when the woman says, I don't want. Okay, so one important rule is that at Garbhadhan, both the man and the woman must have a very congenial relationship. They both must be for it very positively. They both must be feeling very positively, we want to invite a child to this world. You see the opposite example, Satyavati and Vyasa. This is the other Satyavati, Mahabharata wale Satyavati. In that what happens? Vyasa's Parashara is crossing the boat with Satyavati. And Parashara understands the stars are perfect alignment. This teaches you another thing, conception at the right time. Muhurta is perfect. So he tells Satyavati, I can give you a child who will be a great person. She says, what about my virginity? Protected. It will not get hampered at all. He creates a cloud and he creates. And she's willing. Vyasa is born. That Dasi, whom Ambika sends, the third time Vyasa comes, she receives Vyasadev with great reverence and she is pleasing. Vidura is born. You see that? The woman is willing. a great child is born. Woman says, no, 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 some problem. Then wrong time conception. Diti, correct? Diti and Kashyapa, third canto story. She's telling her husband at sunset time, now I want to unite. That's not the time you're supposed to unite. At sunset, twilight, you cannot do that. Galati ho gayi. Hiranyaksha, Hiranyakashipu or what? Now, if you see why Hiranyakashipu, how did he get Prahlad? There is a Puranic story. It's not Bhagavatam. But another Purana says that when Hiranyakashipu was having union with his wife, that is Narad Muni comes in the form of a parrot and he is shouting Narayana, Narayana. And this person, when he's having union with his wife, he's also inadvertently chanting Narayana, Narayana. You have Prahlad Maharaj was arrived over there at that particular time. This is all at conception. Then there is pregnancy time. 9 months. See, Kayadu, she is pregnant. She is taken to Narad Muni's ashram. Narad Muni is talking Bhagavad Katha. Prahlad Maharaj, he has heard the entire Bhagavatam. Because please try to understand, this is scientific. That the child, when he's growing inside, is actually getting connected to the entire vibrations of the woman. Okay, so there are so many things. Actually, Garbhadan Samskar, I mean, I'll tell you the practical thing, but let's look at these examples first. Abhimanyu, correct? When he was in the womb of his mother Subhadra, what happened? Arjuna was teaching how to go inside that chakra vyuha. And the other part, she slept off. This fellow heard half only. That was it. Then the same Diti. Now please understand, this is another chapter in the Bhagavatam, 6th canto, 18th chapter. In this what happens? In this what happens is Diti, when Hiranyakashipu, Hiranyaksha are dead, Diti is very angry. She feels, I want a son who will kill Indra. And she tells her husband that I want a child who will kill Indra. Again, Kashyapa does that whole process prior to conception. How to get a child to kill Indra. It's very beautiful chapter. Please read that. In that, all rules are mentioned. How a pregnant lady should live. So many things are mentioned. She should not be overly angry. She should not cut her nails at sunset. So many rules are there. She should wash her mouth after eating. She should not sleep at sunset time. So he says, if you follow all this, you will get a son like that. Who will kill Indra. Then Indra comes to serve her, Diti. They're relatives only, na? Aditi and Diti are sisters. Correct? Are you getting it? So it's your mother's sister, like that. Yeah. Mother's sister. So Indra comes to serve and he is carefully looking. When will Diti do a mistake? One day what happened? Diti ate during sunset time and didn't wash her hands. Just like that she slept. So गई बिना हाथ वाथ धोए मुंह धोए खाने के बाद sunset के time. Then Indra immediately, because he has some yogic powers, he enters the womb of Aditi and cuts that child into 49 parts. But then what happens there? You know, Kashyapa had done the thing that which was not known to Indra at that time, that because the rule was not followed, the child will be born who will be favorable to Indra. So that is how the arrangement was. You understood? And because he went inside and there were 49 Maruts who were born, who were all friends of Indra. And everybody was happy at the end of the story. Diti's mind also changed. This is all Garbhadan Samskar at pregnancy. Gandhari, when she came to know that her Kunti has already had a son, she was pregnant. With envy, she beat her womb. With envy. And there was a lump delivered with envy, which he made it, Vyasadeva made it into 100 parts, and all had envy inbuilt into it. And there arose Duryodhan, Dushasana, and all the 100 Kauravas. This is a story, a beautiful story. I heard, this is a contemporary story I heard from Bhakti Rasaman Maharaj. He was telling this in the recent times in Punjab. He was telling recent 300-400 years back. There was a king in Punjab. So it seems what had happened was there was a cow who had got stuck in some particular place. And it was unable to come out and go in. Sometimes it happens. So the king was thinking what to do, how to save this cow. So there was one boy over there, one man, who suggested, why don't we break the horns of the cow? Then the cow can come out. Immediately everybody was alarmed. Even the king was alarmed. How do we even think about it? How can we cut the horns of the cow like that? So the king said, the very fact that you thought about it means something must have gone wrong in your samskaras. See the connection. And he calls his mother. And he says, what happened during pregnancy of yours? Anything happened? She says that I used to see a butcher often when I was pregnant with this child. So the king says, no doubt, this child is born with such thought process. He's thinking like this. Okay, so this is Garbhadan Samskar. Can you see the power of it? Prior to conception, at pregnancy. Now, somebody may say, practically, how will we implement this? So I want to touch on that also a little bit. So when we say prior to conception, I was hearing this. I mean, there are devotees, and many scholars have researched so much on Garbhadan Samskar. I have personally seen volumes of books on Garbhadan Samskar, which talks about every aspect of it. How to eat food, which month the pregnant lady should eat, what type of food. Everything is given. Everything is researched also. Okay, I'll just mention some points which come to my mind. I heard this Garbha Samskar class by a very, very famous lady who has done a lot of good work in this domain in Gujarat. A very dharmic woman. So she was telling that prior to conception, the husband wife, they should meditate on the good qualities of their family members, which they want in their child. See, it's a very practical thing. If we sit and think that I want a son like Arjuna, how will that happen? Do we have the potency to bear an Arjuna? No. At best, what can we get? At best, you can get someone who is the combination of the best qualities of your family members. Right? In your family, there will be people with good qualities, right? So that's the first thing you need to start appreciating. Because that's the law of genetics. Maybe your father is a very patient man. He may not be a devotee or something, but he may be his patience may be very good. Maybe your mother is very understanding and humble. Maybe some grandfather in the family is a very good singer. Maybe someone is a good cook, right? There are family members in your family, both sides, the man and the woman, who have very good qualities. So she says, meditate on that. That means positively think and pray to the Lord that you want a child like this, with good qualities, just like your own family, because that's realistic. That's what can actually happen. That's one example. I mean, there are so many things they say. Another thing, prior to conception, the husband and wife should have a very good relationship. The relationship the marriage should start very positively, actually. Unfortunately, many times, people start fighting early in the marriage, and fighting can see, once in a while, some misunderstanding is always going to be there, over some small issue. I'm not talking about that. Major issues of confrontation. Beating, shouting bad words. This is like the opposite of what you're supposed to do prior to conception. Life is not supposed to be like that. Then you will invite a child. Then see what happens. Then even if I'm chanting and all that, ultimately my qualities are the way it is, right? Then I'll get child like that only in my family. Are you getting it? So this is prior to conception. Some tapasya, all this is important. Prior to conception. At least for a year like that. And even bodily fitness, that is also prior to conception. Bodily perspective, also the man and woman must be fit. Eat good food. I mean, there are so many things these books mention about. What type of food to eat, follow Ayurvedic rules of eating food. Correct? Not that you are becoming plump and, kind of out of proportion physically. Then your body is unfit. Prior to conception, you have not done the right type of work. Okay. So Garbhadan Samskar is, you have to address all aspects of your life. Then at conception, again, do it at the right time. I'll be talking about that. Prabhupada here talks about the concept of 50 rounds. Most of you must have read about it. Chanting 50 rounds of Hare Krishna. Right. Now that also, I mean, at a practical level, I know some devotees who would ask me that, Prabhuji, 50 rounds chanting करने के लिए मेरे को casually उड़ाना पड़ता है. मतलब इतना time ही नहीं है दिन में. Then how to put leave application to the boss? Today Garbhadan Samskar, so leave. Not coming to office. So I said, ठीक है, we'll do one thing. I said, try to do on the weekend before or something. You're going to do on Tuesday or Wednesday. Sunday only you chant the extra 50 rounds. Whatever 50 rounds you have do it 1 or 2 days before. So you have done that. Okay. And then your normal life is going on like that. So something like that. Some practical things can be done. But at conception, it is important. Actually, see how this is how Karma Yoga works. Karma Yoga means what? At conception means before the act, you think about Krishna. During the act, you focus on the act only. And immediately after the act, you again think about Krishna. Are you understanding? This is Karma Yoga actually. This is yoga. So before the act, thinking about Krishna is the chanting of extra rounds and tapasya. While doing the act, you have to do the act like anybody else does. Because it's a biological act. It makes no difference whether a dog is doing, a karmi is doing, or a bhakta is doing, in the sense that you have to get involved in that physical activity. At that time, you cannot be thinking of, at that time. See, when Arjuna is shooting arrow only, right? What are the rules? Arjuna shooting arrow and Karna shooting arrow in one sense. Are you getting the point? They both are focusing on how to shoot arrow well and focusing on that. But the difference is what? Before shooting and after shooting, what they do. That's actually the thing. The same thing here. Before you start the process, you get into chanting the extra rounds and tapasya. And the Shastra actually says, when the man has done the act, at that time you are supposed to remember Krishna. Because now it's done. That time you are supposed to remember Hare Krishna. That's what happened with Hiranyakashipu also when this Prahlad was born. Right? He did it, and that bird started saying Narayana, Narayana. He also started saying Narayana, Narayana. Exactly when he had consummated the act with his wife. Are you getting it? This is conception. This is Garbhadana. This is practical. Then during pregnancy also, during pregnancy, the woman who is there, she should have, first of all, a very good environment at home. She shouldn't experience too much negative emotions, crying, shouting too much. She should be by and large at peace. Experience very positive vibration at home. That is important, Garbhadana Samskara. Pregnancy ke time. And we also recommend, for example, like you can read the Srimad Bhagavatam. I know ladies who have read the entire Bhagavatam with purport of Prabhupada during pregnancy. But if that may be difficult for somebody, at least read the translations. There are certain Vaishnavas who like to read the Sundara Kanda of the Ramayana. That's considered very good to read for a pregnant woman. And then they also say that besides reading the spiritual literature, the woman who is there, she should be doing something. She can also read about, some Balasaheb Purandare, Shivaji Maharaj's stories there, or Maharana Pratap, great kings. You're supposed to read that. You want a child, right? You're a Kshatriya. You're a Bhosle or something. You want a child who's like that, protecting dharma. Correct? So meditate on that also. Okay. And it also says that if they are intellectuals, then solving mathematical quizzes, puzzles, correct? Reading good type of poetry, hearing nice music, Shastriya Sangeet, good music, doing some skills, maybe crochet, knitting, doing something, learning cooking, doing something, just be engaged nicely. This is all Garbhadana Samskara. Such a big thing. Please try to understand it. It's a huge thing actually. It's not, I can't even start talking about it. There are like books, volumes written about it. It is not just like that somebody is born in someone's family. They have done their own tapasya. That's why they got a child. Prabhupada talks about Garbhadana Samskar so much in his book. That's why I said it's not just a continuous event, it's a discrete event as well. Discrete event is like chanting 50 rounds. So discrete ho gaya na? At one point we chanted 50 rounds. Continuous event means what? That whole cultivation of consciousness throughout the time before pregnancy, after being pregnant for 9 months. That is continuous function. Garbhadana Samskar. Right. Moving ahead. Right. There are several other considerations. So there is a book. Yeah, there is a book by Gopal Bhatta Goswami called Satkriya Saradipika, which is translated. He talks about so many other considerations for Garbhadana Samskara, the timing, the place. For example, he says it should be 3 hours after sunset and 3 hours before sunrise, between that time. And nowadays, let's say the sun sets almost at 5:30 only, 6 o'clock. So from 9 o'clock onwards. And nowadays the sun rises at 7 a.m. most of the time. That means till 4 a.m. in the morning, one could do anytime. Because some people find it difficult to do at night, they become very tired. So they prefer to, sleep and then get rest and in the morning do Garbhadana Samskara. That's fine. What is absolutely forbidden is Ekadashi night. Ekadashi night means, please remember, suppose if today is Ekadashi, then tonight is what we're talking about. Not today morning. See, what happens is sometimes, we go by the English calendar. And English calendar day starts at 12 o'clock. 12. No? So, for example, suppose today is Ekadashi Tithi, then today morning 3 a.m. is Dashami only. Understood? It actually starts only from Brahma Muhurta, the Ekadashi. Are you getting the point? So, when I say Ekadashi night, it's the night of Ekadashi, not the morning of Ekadashi. Because we said, 3 hours before sunrise also it can be done. So that's how the counting begins. Amavasya Purnima also no, because that affects the mind. It's actually a science, please remember. They call lunatic in English, you know that? Mad people are called lunatic. Because there's some connection with the moon. Okay. So on that night, one is not supposed to do. 8th and 14th Tithi is also, if you can avoid, good. Ashtami and Chaturdashi. Now, why I'm saying if possible, because the recommendation is given. But too many restrictions to put also, sometimes what happens is that couples don't get time only to do. Because it's all, I mean, they have to look at the the whole ovulation time of the woman, which is generally between the 12th and the 16th day in her 28-day cycle. Correct. And even that awareness of ovulation for a woman. See, nowadays, many times what happens, people are not sensitive to their bodies. They don't know. I've spoken to ladies who tell this point that during that period, there is a slight sensation in their body also. They understand this is ovulation time. If you are very, very sensitive to your own prakriti, you understand all this. But generally, it is between the 12th and the 16th day, in the 28-day cycle. Days of Vrata you cannot do. Days of Vrata means fasting day. Like there are fasting days, Janmashtami, Narsingh Chaturdashi. There is a Shraddha in your house. Some your grandfather's Shraddha is being observed. Then that day you cannot do. Because that is also a Vrata day for your family. For your family. Then Satkriya Saradipika also says that if you do an odd Tithi, then chance of daughter is more. And if you do an even Tithi, then son is more. But again, you do it with Nishkama Karma Yoga, whatever it is. And I would say that the son and daughter business, one should get into only when one is having, at least one should, actually another thing, besides quality, we need quantity also. One should have number of children as well. Now you not believe. When I was a child, I remember there was so much talk about family planning because too much population. Today in the world over, biggest problem is lack of population. I'll tell you seriously. And population increasing only of one type of community. I don't want to name them. Otherwise, you look in. No, it's don't laugh. It's a serious thing. Serious issue. You go to Europe and all and see, fertility rate is 1. Fertility rate among women should be 2.1. 2.1, every woman has 2 children, then only the population is maintained. In many countries in Europe, it is 1. That means what? If there are 50 million in that country, in another 40 years, there will be 25 million only of their Gora Chamudi. And then after another 40 years, 12.5 million. Then 6.25 million. Comes like that. Are you getting exponential decrease? It is in 100 years. At 50 million, it becomes 6 million. And some other guys who know how to produce a lot, they will come and sit in your country. Your whole civilization has ended. Please understand. Dharma ends. Please try to understand. We want to end our samsara in this world and go back to Godhead, but we don't want to end the samsara only. Samsara ko band nahi karna hai humko bhai. Samsara chalu rehna hai. You understand? So besides having quality children, quantity is also important. At least 3, I will say honestly. Everybody should have at least 3 minimum. More than that, better. So that if somebody can. No, seriously, it's very good. It's fantastic. Right. Yeah, number of children is very important. Then when you're having 3, 4 and all, then you can think, okay, I want one daughter also. And also, that's family. Family means, the more the merrier. It's fun. I remember when I was a child, we used to go to our ancestral home. I don't know how many of you have that experience, but we go to ancestral home and we would in our parents' generation, they were all like 4, 5 and all, right? So it was never like 1, 2 business. So everybody would come with all their children. So much fun we would have as child. So many cousins to play with. If your mother is angry with you, no problem. Bua is there, someone is there. She will give you love. It happens, in family. It's not that you are only dependent on your mother or your father only for everything. Chacha is there. So many other people are there. They give more love sometimes. In a sense, that rasa is little different. Correct? That's fine. That gives you stability in your life also, all these things. That's what is one child? This is utter nonsense actually, honestly. I'm sorry to use that term. No, nothing. Everybody has one child. No atya, no, nothing. Masi, कोई भी नहीं. मामा, कुछ भी है ही नहीं. Relation ही नहीं है. वो China जैसा one child policy. The most useless thing. So Grahastha Dharma is to have children. And we need not fear too much about all these economic things. बहुत ज़्यादा डरते हैं हम लोग, सच्ची बोलते हैं. Everything gets arranged also. Child comes with his karma. Seriously, I'm telling you. Every child comes with their karma also, and of course, everything that doesn't affect so much. Okay, you should have some stable job. It's not that you would have a job and you're having half a dozen children at home. That is obviously problematic, but that's important, right? And place. where to do this. I remember, one couple, they got married. They were very sincere people. They phoned and told me, Prabhuji, hum soch rahe we want to go to Vrindavan and have Garbhadan Samskar there. Because we think that, Vrindavan is a holy place. Many good souls will be going around there. And, some good soul will come in our family. I said, hey, boss, look, first thing is, you should not have union in a holy place. I see, somebody is living in there only, that's a different thing. There are people who are living there only, right? As in, then what will they do? They cannot go outside to, every time they can't do that. But somewhere else, you don't go to a holy place and do this. So Gopal Bhatta Goswami says it should be in your own home, never in temple, never in a holy place, never in the ashram of a guru, never in the house of another Vaishnava. That means, you've gone as a guest to somebody's house. I mean, I'm not talking if you're living on rent in someone's house. Don't look at that as that. If you're living on rent, that's your own house only, at least at that part of time. But not that you're a guest in somebody's house and, there you're doing all this. Goshala, or, nobody does all this, but the Shastra mentions all these things, that one should not have union in all these places. So this is timing and place. You understood? Then, there are other considerations. There are so many considerations actually, but I think I'll run out of time badly. Just 1 second. Now, what has happened is this slide isn't moving, which I am. Just one second. Yeah. There are other considerations in Garbhadan Samskar. Charak Samhita. If you look Ayurveda, there are books only on this. Our rishis have done all research. They have done even research about breathing. I mean, I read this. Charak says the husband should practice breathing from the right nostril and wife from the left nostril during conception. They talk about all this also. There are mantras given, what to be chanted when. Dosha should be balanced. Kaphavata Pitta dosha. That means nobody should be sick among the partners. Not that one is always coughing, and So then you have to adjust your lifestyle. So Ayurveda has so many recommendations. You don't eat curd, only buttermilk. General lifestyle only. Moong dal is preferred over tur dal. Fruits only in the morning, not at night. Ice cream is to be completely avoided. It's not good for your body at all. It leads to dosha imbalance. So you have to follow rules in life. Now, what has happened? Let me tell you one thing honestly. 50 years back, now people followed these rules, I'll tell you. Today, what has happened now? We all have too much money with us. That's why we do all this. You talk to your grandparents. They will never eat outside anywhere. They never had opportunity. Paisa bhi nahi tha yaar kisi ke paas ye sab karne ke liye time pass. Nowadays, everybody has lot of money, nothing to do. Chalo, pizza order karo, yahan se pasta, ice cream, this, that. Keep ordering. Even devotees have their own network only. I mean, I'm sorry to say that. It is just that everything has got doubted. Right? Tail is big, dough is less. Right? Everything is doubted. We have devotee pizza, pasta suppliers, ice cream suppliers, devotee, everything. And there are tons of WhatsApp groups where there's only the discussion. Which caterer is offering pizza today? Who is giving this? Kahan se kya aa raha hai bhai khane ke liye? First rule is eat at home, cook food. That's good for your body. And that's why I tell you, infertility is high today. Very high in society. Everybody, devotee, non-devotee, everyone. Why? Unhealthy lifestyle. 50 years back, you see in our relative circle, my relative circle, I know. Everybody in 1 year of their marriage, they had a child. Everyone I know. There was no one. First anniversary, बच्चे के साथ ही photo होता था. आजकल लिटरली किसी का नहीं होता है. सबको कोई इनफर्टिलिटी स्पेशलिस्ट के पास जाओ, इसके पास जाओ, पंचकर्मा करो. क्यों? बॉडी फिट नहीं हुई. Simply I tell you, body is just not fit. Why? Because you have a lot of money. So that's why what you do, you just keep eating anything, everything, no regulation, nothing. Ayurveda talks about all this. See, this is life. You can't deny this. This is all part of Garbhadan Samskar. It's not that you will chant. I mean, I'm not trying to beat it here. That has its importance. But your lifestyle has its importance, right? Are you getting my point? If your body is only unfit, or your mind is unfit, you may have chanted 150 rounds, but nothing will come out of it, right? As in, the child is not going to come. Maybe your consciousness may be a little bit purified. That also, I have a question. As in, if the lifestyle is not good, how much our devotional service affects really our internal self? That's a separate topic of discussion. I'm not going into that today. Charak also gave mantras to be chanted. Everything in our Vedic history had a mantra. You know, one thing, I mean, I'm not going into that Ayurveda. You can study that later. I was once reading in one, there is a Vedic mantra, one Veda talks about a mantra for a father when he kisses his child. एक चुम्मा देते हैं ना तो एक मंत्र है उसके लिए अंगाद अंगाद संभवित हृदयादति जाय से आत्मवै पुत्र नामासि सजीव शरदशतम. It basically says each of your body parts are from my body, so my dear son, live 100 years. आशीर्वाद देता है when he gives a kiss to his son, right? Everything is there. So I mean, see, it all depends on how deep you want to go into these topics. I'm here just for 1.5 hours giving a very brief overview of whatever I can. Yeah. So the next thing. So please try to understand the purpose of marriage in Vedic tradition is to create a legacy. That's the purpose. It is to create a legacy. Because see, each of us is going to be dead and gone one day. What have you left behind? In the terms of marriage, it's your children you have left behind. And what value you have given them, samskaras you have given them for the world. You understand? Kunti Pandu went away. But what did they leave behind? The 5 Pandavas. The Pandavas left. They left Parikshit Maharaj. Their sons weren't there, at least the grandson was there. Parikshit left Janamejaya. Why do you think the Bhagavatam has so many chapters only of kings and their children? Have you seen that? There are chapters. Iska patni ye thi, uske 2 bachche the, ek ladki thi. He got married to him, and then they had these 5 children, 3 children. Their names were this, and this. But the Paramahamsa Samhita, man. It is all talking line. Full chapter is that only. Chapter ends, no purport only sometimes. I give class sometimes, so we see that there are verses only discussion, not 1 or 2, several. And this is Bhagavatam. What is because other Puranas and everything? Why? Legacy. You have to create a legacy. That's your responsibility as a married in a Grihastha ashrama. And what is the legacy? Look at these points. First thing is to create a child who's dharmic. Dharmic means what? Sadgun and Sadachar should be there. You understand? Sadgun, Sadachar. Gunavan, he should be. He should have good qualities, good human being. First thing. How much he will become devotee, that is all later. Ye hone ke baad hi wo aata hai. If he doesn't have good qualities and good achar, what are the use? You make him a devotee, it's a burden on the devotee community also. So isko devotee bana ke rakha hai yaar, bhedege. Balavan. See, next important thing. Sharira madhyam kalu dharma sar. Body of the child should be fit. So there are so many things said. Garva samskar. Even when the child is born. Matra hastena bhojanam. To eat food cooked by your mother, that's the greatest blessing for a child. And I'm using mother here, basically I mean the parents at home. Correct? Not that he's ordering from Zomato and eating. Kushalta, skillful. That means the child should be taught some skills with the hand. Can be anything, but he should be skillful person. And Vidwan. Vidwan is said only if the previous 3 are accomplished. Otherwise, Vidwan is headache. What is the use of your Vidwatta if you are not Dharmik, if you are not Balava, if you are not having Kushalta? Then Vidwan. So this is the purpose of marriage. And purpose of marriage, there is it's a Gujarati term, it's called Savaya. That means you have to improve your next generation 1.25 times your generation. See, it's a very reasonable expectation. Nobody is saying that you will produce directly some Parikshit Maharaj or something. How it will be born? Our family will have a child like us only. No? Otherwise, genetically, it's not our childhood. How can it happen? So 1.25 times is the expectation. Very reasonable expectation. And this 1.25, if it keeps building up, you imagine what happens. Successively they do that. You improve the population of this world. This is the contribution of a Grihastha in this world, to leave a legacy, very organic way. Correct. Now let's talk about, there are so many other samskaras. See, please try to understand. This is only one samskara, Garbhadan samskara. Prabhupada says in that purport that we read 6.3 about 10, he says, not 10. But actually there are several. 10 are important. While these are discrete. You remember I told discrete and continuous. These are like, samskara means at some point it is done. Actually, Prabhupada has written a very nice purport. This is CC Adilila 13.110. I'm just reading that. It's an amazing purport. I'll just give you a second. This is, when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was born, at that particular time, they do all these samskaras. Correct? Because in India, all these samskaras were done. Everybody did all this. In your families also it is done. So Prabhupada writes in one purport when Nimai is born. Okay, look at, I'm just reading. Vermilion bananas, coconut, turmeric mixed with oil are all auspicious gifts for such a ceremony. Such a ceremony, the birth of the child has happened. Okay. Also, turmeric mixed with oil and vermilion makes an auspicious ointment that is smeared on the body of the newborn baby or a person who is about to marry. These are all auspicious activities in family affairs, Prabhupada writes. We see that 500 years ago, at the birth of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, all these ceremonies were performed rigidly. But at the present moment, such ritualistic performances hardly ever take place. Generally, a pregnant mother is sent to the hospital. As soon as a child is born, he is washed with an antiseptic, and that concludes everything. So Prabhupada kind of says in a very light way that nowadays you just go to the hospital and antiseptic, there is wash, everything is over. There is no ceremony. There is no samskara actually. It is no deep. So see, these are all samskaras. So while in the womb, there is pumsavan in the third month. This is for protection of the child. Also, some people say it's for a male child, but anyway. Then Simantanayana, this is done in the 6th month or the 8th month. Actually, on each of these samskaras, we can speak very, very elaborately. We can give a class on each of it. Simantanayana, which is basically a samskar done in the 6th or 8th month, which is to protect the mother's, basically it's for the safety of the child and the mother, this one. Shoshanti Homa is done for a safe delivery. Then see, in the first 5 years of the child, so much samskaras are there. Because the first 5, now see, if you remember, I told you, Garbhadan samskara is the maximum contribution to the individual. Next, if you ask me, other than Garbhadan samskar, what is important in the life of the individual? Then the answer is first 5 years of a child. That has maximum impact on the child. That means if Garbhadan samskar had 75% contribution to the individual's overall personality and everything, the first 5 years have again that much percentage importance. This is not only said by our Shastra. Raghunath Maharaj, I remember once he was speaking in class, he was saying that psychologists in the West have also concluded this. First 5 years have maximum impact on anybody's life. What the child sees. So in the first 5 years of the child, so many samskaras our Shastras have put. And not only the samskara, again, don't look at these as discrete events. There is continuous event also. Importance of good food for the child. Healthy food. Okay. Don't make the child in the babyhood only, a slave of these corporate products. Correct? No. I mean, 6 months, child should only be on mother's milk. 6 months. And how much you can give mother's milk? Better. 2 years, even good. 1.5, 2 years is considered good for the child. Okay? And see, nature also has such a thing. I have noticed this. When the lady is breastfeeding, most of the time she doesn't conceive also actually at that time. It's a nature's arrangement. It's amazing actually. Correct? Because after delivery is happening, what happens for a long time, the lady doesn't get periods, if you know something about it. And generally that goes on till they breastfeed. And when they stop, then it starts. It's nature's arrangement. Now you're breastfeeding, just have this one child. Nature also is very sensitive. And even after that, good food cooked at home for the child. Very important. Okay, I agree. Nowadays, women may be working because of various things. Okay, no problem. But have an arrangement at home where you decide what ingredients will be used. And you buy food from outside, what oil they are using, do you know? They use that palm oil. Everybody, I tell you. Any hotel will use that. The most cheap, dirty oil it is. And then don't ask why I'm getting gas to this thing, acidity, this, that. Don't ask all these questions. You're eating out, man. Anyone, devotee, caterer, non-devotee, I would say it doesn't make a difference because it's commercial. It's to make money, damn it. How can they afford? Are you getting the point? It's a principle of economics. Okay, now how they will survive, that's a different thing. You need not worry. There's so many people to take care of them. I mean, so this includes eating anywhere. Because commercial cook is commercial cook. It doesn't matter whether it is devotional enterprise or non-devotional enterprise. It doesn't because it's for money. It's all calculation. No? Are you getting the point? So even if you cannot cook at home, because of whatever reason, sometimes the wife is working, create an arrangement. Na? Invest money, maybe have a cook, get the right type of ingredients at home, tell them that this is what we want at home. At least supervise that properly. If you cannot cook yourself, at least make that arrangement. Use your money for that. No problem. Correct. Storytelling, so important. They say that I was reading this book for Samskara. It says that for a child, the brain power increases by imagination. They should not see screen. In screen, what happens is it becomes fixed. Like if you see Mahabharata also on screen, what happens? Some Krishna, Nitish Bharadwaj, the old Mahabharata that we saw, and the new one that Saurabh Jain or whoever he was, forgot his name, some Jain he was, right? His face comes to our mind, Krishna means. Are you understanding? Because it becomes fixed. But to a child, you are supposed to describe the story with color, smell, sound, effects, and let the child imagine in his mind a Krishna. Don't show something, say this is Krishna. That is, you're limiting the child's ability to imagine. This is all samskara. Ye samskara. This is continuous samskara happening. You understand? Storytelling. And do you know, they say that a child likes to hear the same story again and again. It feels confidence, it seems. It feels a sense of security. I don't know how many of you have this experience. I mean, when you have a child, you'll understand. You tell the same story to the child, at least first 2-3 years. He will keep hearing. Wohi kahani sunega. He doesn't want new story. He gets a sense of security in that. And he's imagining that whole story in his mind. It's good for his development. Languages. Talk in your mother tongue at home. Right? This is another problem in urban people. Everybody thinks we're talking English. Okay, in temple, we may be talking in English or Hindi or some language because everyone knows that language. But in your home, you should talk in your mother tongue. They say a child can learn 22 languages at the same time till the age of 5 if you have the capacity to give it. This is not from Shastra, it's from a Western scholar. 22 languages they can learn because they don't learn the way we learn language. After the age of 7, you have to learn language means it's a very difficult thing. Family, yeah. So all these become important. So there's so many. Jata karma. This is when the child is born. Nishkrama, first time when the child goes out. Paustika karma, this is for the health. Nama karana, giving the name to the child. Mundana, the first hair cutting. Anna prashna, the first grains. Karana veda, piercing the ear. Right? So all these samskaras are first 5 years. Are you understanding? And then later samskaras are Vidyarambha, Upanayana, Vivaha. Only 3 are there. And then after death also there is samskar. See, from before death there is samskar, after death there is samskar. That is done by the son. Before we are born, our parents are doing samskar for us. And after one is dead and gone, the son is doing Shraddha ceremony. Antishti, Kriya. That is also samskar. So in each of these we could speak, but we are not. I only spoke on Garbhada, right? Yeah, so this is like very, very vast. I think I'll just I'll have to do some fast forward. I'm just skipping some slides. Sorry for that because the Shraddha ceremonies are also important. I'll tell you why. It's connected. Children are considered a blessing of the ancestors. There is some in astrology. I learned that as well. So there is something called Pitru Dosha that sometimes affects having child in the family. Doctor will say everything is proper biologically. Bacha nahi ho raha hai. Pitru Dosha. So this whole thing of Shraddha is very important. That means to offer to your ancestors the gratitude that you offer. See, the nature is reciprocating. You don't have gratitude to your family, you don't get the blessings of that. And as devotees also, see, we should not think that my parents are not devotees, my grandfather is not devotee. No, that doesn't matter. Correct? They may be very good people. They have done their own samskar because of which you got a body in their family. Correct? So that gratitude should be sent. See, Arjuna, why does he say? Simply, he doesn't say not all concerns of Arjuna were invalid. In the first chapter, he says, Sankaro narakayeva kulagnanam kulasyacha pitanti pitaro hesham lukta pindodaka kriyaha. The point is saying, he's saying so many men will die, women will be contaminated, children will be born, no one will teach them samskara. All rituals for forefathers will stop, he says. Lukta pindodaka kriyaha. Pinda and udaka, offering tarpan on Amavasya to your family members, Gaya Shraddha, all this will stop. Why? All the men are dead, no one to teach their children all this. See, he is concerned. See the concern of Arjuna, and that's a valid concern. Just that the war was important because there was another issue. I'm not going to that. But even, now another thing I want to tell you. In any ceremony that you sit now, focus on the meanings of the words that they say. Like I'll give you an example. Like in Shraddha, there is a verse that is there in Shraddha ceremony. It says, let all Brahmins be born illustrious. This is the translation of that verse. I'm not repeating that verse because I just don't want to say the verse in such a casual forum. It's a formal forum, but still there are rules when you can say some mantra. You cannot simply chant the mantra anywhere. Let all Brahmanas born be illustrious. This is a translation of a Shraddha mantra for your forefathers. Let all Kshatriyas born be Velaras. Let all girls born be beautiful. Let all cows give plenty of milk. Let the Yajaman have sons who are always victorious. And let there be sufficient rain everywhere. You're praying for that Yajamana who's doing the Shraddha ceremony. Let each person in this world have Yoga Kshema. Yoga means to get new things. Kshema means the old should be maintained. Right? So this is Samskara. Right? So Samskara is a deep impression. So like that, right? Now I'm just taking the last point. So this is called Vivaha Samskara. Now I want to focus on this because perhaps many of you are not married here. Please try to understand the marriage again is an event which you don't look at it only as something, I would say that everything in the Vivaha ceremony now you have to focus deep. The timing, the mantras being chanted. These terms are beautiful. Vivaha means what? Vishishta Rupena Vahana. This is Vivaha. Marriage is a vehicle for perfection. Vishishta Rupena Vahana. Vahana means what? It's a vehicle. For what? Perfection. See the meaning. Lagna, it means to get stuck. Now, ये stuck सुन के हमको गौरव सभा का याद आएगा अरे यार फंस गया आदमी. No, it's not that. It is in a very positive sense. Every living entity in the world is looking for companionship. You got a religious company now. Dharmic company you have got. That is Lagna. Our Shastra is full of all these marriages. Rama Sita, Sita Ram Vivaha, Rukmani Krishna. In South, I come from South. In South and temples, we have this tradition of organizing the marriage of Sita Ram. Sita Ram Vivaha is a ceremony. I don't know. I've not seen this in Maharashtra and North side, but in South it's very common. They will organize the whole thing. There will be someone who will be Janak Maharaj, someone will be Dasharath, they will do Kanyadan, everything they will do, and the deities will get married. Very beautiful. Rukmani Krishna, Shiva Parvati, beautiful. One devotee was once telling that see, Sita Ram wedding is Viyoga, too much separation. Krishna's wedding is Ati Yoga, 16,000 marriages he did. Both are something that we cannot imitate or follow. Shiva Parvati, steady. And even though they are opposite in so many ways, they go along as a couple. That's a practical lesson for you and me. I may have a spouse who may have a completely different. See, Shiva is different, Parvati is different. Parvati likes to dress up and, quite, she goes, like most women. Of course, in a very dharmic sense. Shiva is like, wearing some ash and some snake and all that stuff. Completely different personality. But they're doing well as a couple, right? They didn't go to the lawyer or something, right? Right, Vivaha. So please understand. So in the Vivaha ceremony also, now please focus on the timings. There is a concept of Muhurta. In Samskara, Muhurta is very important. There is the story of Leelavati. She's a Leelavati Ganit, you may have heard, mathematician. So the story is, this Leelavati, when she was a small girl, they got her married. She was the daughter of Bhaskaracharya. So then in her Kundali, there was a great chance of her husband dying very quickly after marriage. So they went to a Pandit. And the Pandit did all calculation and said that, see, this Muhurta, if you get your daughter married, nothing will happen. They said, okay, they arranged the marriage. And those days they had this time with this clock, sand clock. So what happened is, immediately after the marriage, the Leelavati's husband, that boy, he went to the bathroom, wherever he went to answer the call of nature, a snake bit him and he died. Then they were wondering, why did this happen? Then they realized that sand clock which was there, this Leelavati had put some akshada into it. She's a small girl, so the timing only got spoiled. So the timing when the marriage had to happen, it did not happen. Some other timing it happened. Now why I'm saying this, okay, nowadays we have digital clocks, this problem is not going to happen. But nowadays people are extremely casual in the marriage. All other things are important. Photography, style, pre-wedding shootout. And focus on the mantras. The Saptapadi, the marriage mantras are so beautiful, I'll tell you. So beautiful. You should have a class in NS only on marriage mantras and their meaning. It's unfortunate we don't focus on it. You pay that Panditji little extra, call him one day before, tell him to tell the whole process of marriage with the meaning. He will happily explain. Nobody is asking him that. So he's not explaining. People sometimes give money, jaldi khatam karo, humko photo lena hai. Uske piche pade. Understood? There is a Saptapadi in one of the, I'm just telling one meaning of one line. The husband tells the wife in the Saptapadi during the marriage. I will be like the sky, he tells her, and you will be like the earth. I will fulfill you completely. He promises her that at the wedding. There is a commentator who gave a classic commentary to this. I heard the commentary of these meanings. He says, you know why this is so important? Because it's only the husband who can completely fulfill the girl. Her parents cannot. Even if she's very rich, she cannot think that my father and my brother will fulfill me completely. He says, the father and brother are like that garden hose pipe. Hose pipe मालूम है ना? How much water can it put on the ground? It has a capacity. कितना बाप करेगा बेटी के लिए? Husband, what he can do, that the father cannot do. At the right time, the husband, no matter who he is, he may be Swayambhu Manu with a big palace. But a Devahuti ko leke gaya na, Kardam Gonu. Because he knows that, okay, she's living. See, nowadays, this is again a big problem. Many times the parents also feel of the girl. See, this is all again related to the social issue of one child also. One child, too much attachment to that child. Every small thing interference. Thinking, oh, my dear girl, if things are not working, don't worry. We are there to support you. Are? What, man? You are unnecessarily giving her confidence to come running to your house. What are you doing here? Instead of teaching the girl that adjust and, try to make it happen, you are giving a wrong samskar. Saying, I've seen this happen. I mean, I'm saying not anywhere. Devotee, not devotee, everywhere. Again, all this is related. Less people, too much attachment to that one child, too much money. So encourage that daughter to come back home. So we will take it. So many cases of marriage I know. The parents of the girl only advise the girl, come back home. What is this going on? So the commentator says here that the father and brother at max can be like the hose pipe. It is a husband who can actually give like rain. Like what the sky can do to the earth, can a hose pipe do that? Husband, this is other way also. The point is the husband, wife, what they can do for each other, you can't replace that relationship by somebody else. These are the meanings of the marriage mantras during Saptapadi. We are not even conscious of it. We just keep saying, Pandit ji saying something, chalo bolte raho. जल्दी जल्दी खत्म करो, हमको फोटो लेना है, खाना खाना है, ये गेस्ट है, हमारा फ्रेंड है, ऑफिस का मेरा बॉस है, उसके साथ शेक हैंड करना है मुझे. अरे बाबा, focus on the samskar. It's a samskar, it's a deep impression. Right? Absorb it. Let it sink into. Right? Okay, so I'll end because we're timed out as well. So we discussed 4 themes today, my dear friends. The first one was what is samskara? The definition. We started with 16.3 Bhagavad Gita, where Krishna says, Abhijatasya Bharata, you're born with divine qualities, indicating Dharvadan samskar. Prabhupada writes in that book. And what is samskar? I told you there is vasana, there is vritti, there is samskar. Vasana is a general tendency, vritti is one sensual impression, imprint, and samskar is a deep impression in your system. Samskaras are different from values. It's not a pep talk. It is an experience that you soak in. Correct? That is samskar. Then we started with Garbhadan samskar. Why Garbhadan samskar? Not just because you all are young people, but because that contributes more than 50% of the personality. Garbhadan samskar, we saw 3 types. From before conception, pregnancy. We saw dozens of examples for all that. We saw practically how we can do that in our own lives in a very realistic fashion. Garbhadan samskar. Then we saw that there are so many technical details in Ayurveda given by our rishis, which tithi it is not to be done, when it is to be done, where it can be done, where it cannot be done, what time of the night it can be done, when it cannot be done, all that. Correct? The food, the lifestyle, it is all part of Garbhadan samskar. Then we saw there are a list of another 20 samskaras I had listed during pregnancy. Because I said samskara is sometimes seen as a continuous event, what I was talking, and discrete points also. So there was some discrete point where some ceremony is done. Why the ceremony is done? To create that impression. All those mantras have powerful meanings. If you do that with meditation, you're absorbing that in your system. If you say that with conscience, imagine a man takes all these vows at marriage, knowing what I'm telling my wife. The wife also, there is the Saptapadi, it's such a beautiful thing. The man and the woman promise each other, we will be Sakha no matter what. Sakha means equal level. We try to understand that. Our concept is It's perfect conception actually. In fact, our Shastra only talks about, this English word better half is there na, for the wife. This is actually coming from our Sanskrit only. In Sanskrit, it is called Ardhangini, the wife. Ardha. Aryabhatta says there are two terms in Sanskrit, Ardham and Ardha. Ardham means round off to the next decimal. Ardha means round off to the previous decimal. Like 0.49 is Ardham, it becomes 0.5. 0.51 Ardha becomes 0.5. You understood? So the wife is called Ardha, better half. She is 0.51. Are you understanding that point? So this better half wala concept bhi hamare shastra se aa raha hai term se. But we are not aware only of what we are saying when we are saying. So I said that all the samskaras focus on the meanings of what is happening. Then I told the first 5 years of the child is again another important part. If you say 75% of the personality is at birth, another 75% is first 5 years. Then all the school, college, ये सब वो बाकी है, वो सब. You understood? Whatever is left, the 5% जो अभी कुछ change कर सकते हैं इसको, उसके लिए बाकी सब चल रहा है, including this camp. Sorry for that. In fact, right? Then I didn't focus on all the samskaras because it's not relevant perhaps for most of you. So I briefly touched on Vivaha Samskara, saying that focus on the timing, focus on the muhurta, focus on the meaning of the words. Ask the Panditji to explain you some things. Be very conscious of what you're saying. Let it sink in. Right? Then your marriage can be like, all these great marriages, Sitaram, Rukmini, Krishna, Parvati, Shiva, where you will actually leave a legacy to the world. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. Are there any questions or comments? We have time for that, first of all. Okay. Yeah, whoever has the mic, go ahead.
Thank you very much for explaining all this. Suppose after hearing all these things, like what as you feel like the marriage should be done in the proper way in this context. But our parents say that first of all you have decided that you want to marry only a devotee, and now you are telling us to do marriage in your way. So what is our contribution? We want to do in our traditional way, the way which we want. So like what can we do?
No. First of all, I personally also, I got married, my wife, we got married through ISKCON Marriage Board. But because both of us are Tamil Brahmin background, my parents and her parents also said it has to be according to our Tamil custom. And there's nothing wrong in it. I'll tell you why. See, please try to understand the mantras, the core mantras are same everywhere. Do you know that? See, I'll tell you one thing. See, sometimes we have not understood some basic concepts. There is nothing like ISKCON marriage, Vedic marriage, others Karmi marriage. हम लोग ऐसा बहुत एक gross term use करते हो, गलत है actually. I'll tell you why. The difference is what happens in the Vaishnava Paddhati, which in our temples our pujaris do. In that, what they do is they will offer ahutis to the spiritual masters, to all that. But the Saptapadi mantras, that is all same everywhere. Whereas in your own style, you may do, maybe they may offer some ahuti to Indra, Chandra, or Varuna, or Vayu, or whatever. Some devatas they may do. But my point is now, please try to understand, marriage is an event, it's an occasion where you need the blessings of your parents. Very important. They should be happy in that. If they are okay for this, good. If they are not and they are insisting strongly, I would say that's fine. If that is what is needed to get their blessings, I would say, come on, be broad in that. It's okay. It doesn't make such a big difference. There, in fact, I would say you spend more time. That pujari, whomever your father arranges, now have a meeting with him. Tell him to explain. Give him some more money for that. No problem. That's what I was saying. Right. Even devotee marriage, if you are doing, I'm sorry, use this word, but unfortunately, we use this term devotee marriage, non-devotee marriage, and it's a very gross. It's not a term that I like to use. It doesn't make any sense actually. You get it? Yeah. The focus is that whole thing, right? So focus on that. Yeah. Please try to understand, in any marriage in India, system done, as long as it's a Hindu marriage, obviously if someone, please try to understand, in our Sanatana Dharma, marriage is different from this Islamic Christian. There it's a contract, you know that? Kabul, talak, talak. It's a contract. Here is not a contract, it's the vivaha, it's a ceremony. It's a completely different, the term is different. You can't substitute it. Are you getting? It's not a contract here. It's completely different from that. So as long as it's a general Hindu marriage, most of it will have the aspects of Sanatana Dharma in it, which will have these mantras at the core. Saptapadi, all these things will be there in it. Those are all same everywhere. Is that okay? Very good. Any other question? Yeah.
Hare Krishna. Guruji, I was reading one of the book on Garbhadan Samskar, and it was mentioning it starts 1 year back.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of sadhana mentioned.
Yes.
So as a devotee, we already have 16 rounds, reading Prabhupada books, and after that, I don't have time to do that with the seva. So what to prioritize, what should be done?
No. See, so you do whatever you can. So obviously, see, I told you, if you go into the depth of understanding Garbhadan Samskar, as you were saying, there are volumes of books on all this. So see the situation, see your wife's situation. She's at home, she's working. Is she also chanting 16 now like you, or she's not, or whatever. Based on all that calculations, you see what best can be done. So I would say that don't get. See, the information on samskaras is so voluminous that I will tell you honestly, nobody can do all of it. I'll admit that because Shastras have given encyclopedia like information. वो पढ़ने के लिए तुमको साल लग जाएगा, बुढ़े हो जाओगे, बच्चे कब करोगे? Child only will not happen. By the time all the encyclopedia are not even read, what is become implementing? So look at it as a very long-term project. Maybe your children can learn a little bit more than you, 1.25 times as I said, right? So try to do your best in that. Take the principle. The principle is preparing your consciousness, preparing your body, your mind, your soul for the child. That's it. Whatever best you can do, do it. Right? Hare Krishna. Yeah, just pass the mic to the ladies as well.
Prabhuji, as we understand that in the samskara, both partners are equally important.
Yes.
And the consciousness is very important here. But what if one partner, either the girl or the boy, is from not from ISKCON, they're not aware of this, and it's not possible for that extent to follow. So in that case, what should
Good point. Yeah, practical point. So in that case, also see, please try to understand. See, even if the partner is not from ISKCON per se, there will be some aspects of it they will be very much willing to. So because many of these aspects that we are discussing now, they are in general good for everyone. See, Garbhadan and Samskar is a very broad topic. Okay, they may not want to chant 50 rounds. That they may not do. They are not from ISKCON. They'll say, Ek Malai both. Okay, take it. To just do one round or whatever. So let's not get into that too much. Are you getting it? So that will be just one aspect. But there will be other aspects now, like the qualities of the family. So many other things are there. And even one partner also has a lot of role. Don't forget that. You see Kashyapa Diti, that story in the Bhagavatam. Kashyapa had perfect consciousness. This time we are not supposed to do also. But Diti was adamant. Sunset में ही करना है मुझे. आ गया Hiranyakashipu. So not that Kashyapa could change it too much. You understand? So it is not like that. Even that one partner has a role, positive and negative.
Is there a dominance of one particular gender, whether it is male or female? How much, dominance is there of their consciousness?
See, ultimately, it is going to be a product of summation of both. Okay, so the Shastras give equal importance to both here. But the woman is given a little more because the pregnancy is primarily for the woman, the 9 months. Man's role is there, but 9 months the woman only is bearing the child. So her consciousness only is immediately affecting the baby.
At the time of conception?
No, that both are equal. Both are equal. You cannot say one is this, that there. Yes, Hare Krishna. Yes, yeah.
Hare Krishna. I have two queries regarding the early Shraddha mentioned. I see my mother-in-law offering some Pitrupaksha or yearly.
Yes.
Then anniversary.
Titi.
But I feel like it's incomplete. What exactly should we follow? And one more, for example, my grandparents, in-law grandparents are not living. But what about those who have passed before earlier generations? So we don't remember their.
See, actually, the concept of offering Shraddha and Tarpana. Tarpana is offering water, and Shraddha is offering food and doing this ritual. Right? So this is there in every community in India. Details will be different. in every family, in every community, the way they do may be different. And in many families, what happens is, see, previously, joint families existed, elders were there to pass on that. Increasingly, what is happening in our country, in our Samaj also, is that that touch is going away. You understood? There are not enough elders at home who pass on this information. So sometimes even our parents are in a modern generation only. They also don't know what is to be done because somewhere it got lost. Okay, so it becomes very important for us to revive these family traditions also. So we should try to, find out from, there will be someone in our extended family who knows these things a little better than maybe our parents also. Try to find that out, how it was done, etc. Or nowadays, even among devotees, there are people who are learning these things, but it is not yet so evolved in ISKCON per se. But there are many people outside who do it very nicely also. So through your family network also, you could get somebody who, right? So that is one thing. And second thing about how many generations, generally it is done only for 3 generations. So you need to know only that much. That means somebody lost his father, grandfather, great grandfather, and other side also, mother side also, like that, 3 generations. Not more than that, even in the mantras, it doesn't come. You're only supposed to say Pita, Pitamaha, Prapitamaha, Mata, and like that. So only 3 lines are said. So more than that is not expected also. So like that. Right? But this concept is important. This concept of offering gratitude to the forefathers. There is a concept of Gaya Shraddha also in every community in India. At least if somebody has passed away, then actually this is mainly applicable to those whose parents have departed. If I'm assuming that in most cases here, because all of you are young, your parents would be very hale and hearty now. But for their parents, they should do. You cannot do for your grandfather. They have to do that. It's like that. Correct?
Also, Daya is mentioned in this as well.
Yes, Mahaprabhu went, yes.
So, what is more important? Many North Indian people go to Daya.
No, it is not like that. I'm a South Indian.
Yeah, that's
My father, grandfather, everyone has gone to Gaya.
So Daya is,
of course, Gaya is universal Sanatana Dharma it is. There's nothing to do with North South. ये आजकल ये DMK और ये लोग ने किया है North South. Staying in Tamil Nadu, my father, grandfather, throughout life, they have gone to Gaya and done the Shraddha. It's nothing to do with North and South. This is Sanatana Dharma concept.
Because in Maharashtra, I've heard many people go to
Yes. No. See, our Shastras are also practical. What our elders have done, in every state, there is one place where you go and do these things. And at a broad Bharata, there is one place. Gaya is at Bharata level. And like state capital is there, like you're saying Trambakeshwar in Maharashtra, in every state in India, there is a place where they go. It's very practically they have done. Everybody cannot go to Gaya those days. Nowadays, of course, plane, car, transport is better today. But previously it was not like that. But even that time also they went to Gaya. That's what I'm telling you. My father tells me now, his father, his grandfather, everyone went to Gaya from Tamil Nadu. And those days he says it was so difficult to go. But they went. Because that is tradition. Everyone did these things in India. Only nowadays that touch has gone. Yeah? Okay. Any other question? Yes, there behind.
Thank you. My question is, after marriage, we are doing this Garbhadan Samskar. We have done all this, but still, the kids are not Krishna conscious. So in one lecture, I heard Mahaprabhu was saying out of 100%, only 1% devotees children are devotee. Other 99% are not devotee. So why this is happening and how we can improve?
This is the answer for this. We need 2 hours, but I'll give in 2 minutes, whatever I can. 2 important things. First of all, in raising a child, the goal is not per se to make him a devotee the way we understand it. You give only samskaras to your children. Faith and Krishna consciousness is their choice, how much they want to take. You understand? So get out of certain very, stereotyped, bucketed definitions of devotee, not devotee. This is something that we do very often. Yay devotee, non-devotee. Get out of all that. It's not even correct, I tell you, honestly. It's not even correct. It's sometimes wrong as well. Are you getting my point? We go by these terms also very externally. That's one very big point. Okay. And another thing, let me tell you, children can take up to even the Krishna consciousness the way you are expecting at any time in life. There are so many stories I know of devotee children who at 35, 40 they became serious. Age. कुछ नहीं क्या 16, 17 में बोल रहे थे तुम लोग घूमे ना सब जगह हमको भी घूमना है अभी. No problem. That age they think like that. At 30, 35 their mind only changed. They took initiation. Very common. So many examples. Much later in life. At 40, 45. So many proper disciples. So many proper disciple children now they are taking. They are all 40, 45. Our age, my age there, 47, 50. Now they are taking. 16, 20, they were in a completely different world. So see what happens now? ये आज का जमाना नहीं ये 2 minute वाला जमाना है. We want everything quick. तुरंत देखने पालक बना कि नहीं है. सिर्फ Krishna, Narasimha, the child is doing. Hey, come on, he's going to be a child only. He is understanding everything. Let me tell you, most devotee children are much smarter than us. They know everything. I mean, I have phenomenal experiences with this. You have to devotee child is a completely different segment of population, which I'll tell you, as ISKCON as an organization, we included in, we have not yet understood how to deal with it. हमको समझा ही नहीं अभी तक. हम उनको हमारा स्टैंडर्ड प्रोटोटाइप में डालने का कोशिश कर रहे हैं. नहीं बैठने वाले. I told you I can give a 2-hour minimum class on this. So many examples I know personally of this devotee child. I'll just give you one example. One 17-year-old devotee child. We have how much time with this? 10 minutes enough, Nemas? One he's a devotee. He is my friend's son. He's 17 years old. Born when he was born, only his parents were initiated. He was given name by his Guru Maharaj, father's Guru Maharaj, all that. 17 years में college आ गया. He joined some boys or something. He came to my house to tell his experience. I understood he needs a different treatment, man. He's a completely different. He was telling me, Prabhuji, yeah, they are telling me to attend all these camps and all that. He said, I know all this philosophy. He said, मुझे नहीं करना है ये सब camp. मुझे सब मालूम है. मुझे कीर्तन अच्छा लगता है. I tell my authorities I'll do kirtan. They are saying, hey, what kirtan is sentimental. So don't hear philosophy first. He's saying that I've heard all this. मुझे नहीं पता ये सब camp में. मुझे सब मालूम है. Body soul. I can give lectures. And they are saying, come to camp in Mayapur. This boy was telling me that, Prabhuji, I want to Mayapur 7-8 times in life. मुझे ना अभी घर जाना है. मुझे मम्मी का हाथ का खाना खाना है. बस मुझे कुछ नहीं चाहिए. He's saying, he's standing 4 rounds also. Tarmala karta hai, first year engineering. Such a sweet boy. But as an organization, we don't know because we're trying to fit him in one paradigm. You understand? Trying to fit him in a paradigm. He was telling me such experiences. I mean, I was shocked. He was telling, he was saying that, Prabhuji, once I purchased some bananas and I offered it to Bhagavad Gita and I took. And I got chastised that you didn't put tulsi on it and offer. Krishna has not taken the soup. And he was like, oh my God. So, devotee children, they are a completely different species. You can't deal with them in this way. That's a different topic, Mataji. And so don't put that stereotype definition of a devotee on them. They will become, you give them samskaras at the right age, they will take to some path of spiritual realization on their own sweet will. You can't force faith on them. You can't force sadhana on them. You can force lifestyle on them. I'll tell you another thing. Why most of our devotee children in some ways don't know, many of them, unfortunately, lifestyle kharab hai. Even ghar pe baithe baithe. Getting up very late. Not taking bath only. Just getting up and starting the computer and playing some game. Very common. And parents don't say anything. We think that only we have to emphasize that mala karna hai. Arey, that is one part of life. What about lifestyle? Food. Always encouraging eating outside. Only one rule we have, onion garlic we will not eat. So we have 10,000 options. How we can eat food from 1 lakh places without onion garlic. What big deal have you done? So pura substitute kar diya na usko. So many times lifestyle is a problem. And then we expect that, they just should fit in the 16 rounds and, this. the idea of a devotee that we have, which is a good idea, but it's a very, what shall I say, it's a very formal program. Are you getting what I'm saying? In that, everybody may not fit like that. They will take their time. You will do it their way. This needs a separate 2-hour discussion. Sometime we can have a class on that. Yeah, I will. Any other question? कोई और प्रश्न किसी का? Yeah, I think everyone is tired. We had a lot of lectures. Whole day. The scams, I know, like 4-5 lectures one day. So it's very tiring. Yes. Question?
Yes, sir. Somebody asked me another one. So in the first slide, we discussed about bhakti as a key and the pot as again or something. Kshetra for the bhakti. But I have heard that the reason for bhakti is bhakti itself. There is no other cause for the bhakti. It's causeless. Then how we can relate those two?
See, we talk about bhakti being causeless in the sense of jnana karmadi anavritam. That means nothing else causes the appearance of bhakti in your system. Okay? But to hold bhakti in your system, it is not, see, please try to understand, your body, your samskaras are holding. That's why I gave the example of a pot. You may say, among the pot and kheer, which is more important? Which is important? You only tell. Kheer is important. I will also say kheer is important. Of course, kheer is important. But without a pot, the kheer becomes useless there. That's my point. You get it? Let's say we got a pot, a bucket of sweet rice right now. No throne available. What are you going to put on the floor and ask people to, I don't want to use that word. Right? What are you going to tell people? सबको रुकना पड़ेगा कि नहीं? और मैक्सिमम यू टेल चलो हाथ में ले लो. कितना आएगा? 4 बूंद आएगा हाथ में. खीर तो बकेट है भाई. एक अच्छा मग दिया आपको तो फर्स्ट क्लास पी सकते हो खीर. Why not? So please try to understand bhakti. See, it is a philosophical point. You have to see what happens around also. You have to see certain practical realities. You have to see the Western world and India to understand this. Please see the Western world. Please see statistics of ISKCON only in the Western world and India. See, research on that. Tell me why it doesn't happen. Are you getting it? See, I'll tell you what, in any organization, it's important to study the history of our own organization also. It's very important. We don't do that. We have to study the history of our own organization, 40 years. Case studies. क्या हुआ था किसके साथ क्यों? There are so many examples of Western people who struggle like anything because of no family structure. No wife, no husband, nothing, no child. It's all single, ekle chalo. And then you say bhakti is independent of everything. Are? Have you reached that level? Are you some Raghunath Das Goswami, where 3 drops of buttermilk will sustain you, independent of anything? कुछ फर्क नहीं पड़ता तुमको. हो क्या वो लेवल पे भक्ति का? अरे अपना भक्ति किस लेवल का भी भक्ति? We are crawling in bhakti. Please understand. We are aspiring bhaktas. I am not a bhakta. Bhakta is a level of achievement. Where is bhakti? Where are we? We are just crawling, just some drops, some abhas, some experiences we have. वो अच्छा कीर्तन किया था महापुर में, बहुत अच्छा लगा था. उस पे चल रहा है जीवन में. वो महाराज का लेक्चर, वाह वाह क्या महाराज spoke about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu so nicely. Something has just touched you. That's it. उस पे चल रहा है आपका गाड़ी, मेरा गाड़ी. You understood? Bhakti is truly independent of anything. You need that level of bhakti also. No? That when does it come? And the people for whom it came like that, they went through this proper ecosystem only. Are you understanding? You see Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's associates. Everyone had all samskaras properly done, man. Nobody was like a hippie style guy over there. They had same father, mother throughout life. Correct? No, very important. Nowadays not there. I remember some years back there was one program, Western Mataji had come, young lady. So I and my wife were talking. ऐसे बात करते हैं हमने पूछा उसको how many brothers sisters you have. It's a common question we ask, right? Anybody we meet. She said, well, I have 6. She said, oh, 6. She said, see, 3 from step this mother, because she said her mother and father, it's their 3rd and 4th marriage each, respectively. So she said that there are so many others, na? Matlab half brother, half sister. That is how 6 are. We felt a little sorry to ask such a question. But she was okay with it. Because she was coming from that background. She didn't find it very funny that I have 6 siblings, all this 3 half brother and 3 half sisters, 3 from my mother's previous relationship and 3 from my father's previous. She was very normal about it. Are you getting it? So see, please try to understand what happens in such a samaj, that is samskar, that becomes a samskar. You understand? That becomes an impression. That causes its own set of challenges in life of people. Insecurity, are you getting the point? So to practice, that's why I'm saying that you need a stable pot. And that's all you can do with your child. Huh? Kheer to put in is his or her own option, own call. But the idea is, see, now let's not extend that example too much. The point is, samskara is not, I would say, so external or, just like a pot also. It's something, it's building a character in a particular strong way. So it's substance as well. Are you getting my point? But the thing is, once you've given the good substance, you should have faith also. Leave the child at 16. No problem. You decide, my dear child, son or daughter, what you want to do. You take a call in your life. I have done my best to you till 16. But the question is, as parents, are we willing to do that? Till that age. Correct? Hare Krishna, we will end. Thank you very much.